evening, Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and joined as always on Thursday, co-host Digger Jim. Jim, how you doing tonight, sir?
Running, rushing. I'm sorry, I'm running behind, but I'm glad I'm here now.
Right, there you go. Now you can relax.
Yes.
And Jim's got his J-Lo in full effect over there. In case you don't know what the J-Lo is, Mike Fletcher, that is the white hair halo Jim always has working with his light sets.
It's because of this. It's right there. I mean, I don't, I don't have much.
We call that his J-Lo.
It's angelic for sure.
Yeah.
And in the seat of honor this evening, guys, Instagram, great. Guy I've been following for a while, and also I bought mystery boxes from him, like most of us have, and also Digger Jim has. We are speaking, of course, with Mike Fletcher this evening. Good evening, Mike.
Hi, guys, and thanks so much for having me, and I appreciate it.
No problem. So, as we like to do on this, Mike, give the 1-minute pitch on who you are, what your IG is about, and then we're going to say hi to the audience.
Sure, yeah. So IG is Fletch_Comics, and mainly focused on mystery boxes for the last couple of years. Buying mystery boxes, I've put my own out, and just collecting and showing off my collection. That's about it.
Nice.
And Mike was telling me backstage that he's not usually doing this live thing. So if everyone could be extra critical of everything he does tonight, we'd appreciate it. So we just want to make him feel welcome.
Yeah, no doubt. God.
All right, in the chat this evening, a quick round. Jim, we already know who's first, right? We got James Las Cruces from New Mexico.
Absolutely. Now it is real. It is a real.
Now we're an official program.
Official program.
All right, one of my all-time favorite people, Jerry the Jitterbug. How you doing, Jerry? Marcus Circumstances, who's been avoiding my channel, so I'm going to have to reach out to Marcus, see what's going on. Just kidding, Marcus. From Marcus to Marco. How you doing, Marco? Tony from Comiverse. How you doing tonight, sir? Brother John's here to support his brother. Jealous of his J-Lo. We have Norn Rad over here. I was just seeing Norn over at Whack Comics on their great live stream. We have Matthew from Comics by the Bay, who will also be in the hot seat soon. We have DVH. Good to see you, Dr. Von Hoots. Nice of you to drop by, sir. We have Ben Compton in. Nice to see you, Ben. And we'll keep saying hi as people come in, but we'll get started. Just nice and basic. So, Mike, just give us real quick. Obviously, most of us know you through your Instagram and buying mystery boxes from you and taking a chance on this guy we didn't know much about until we got to know him a little bit and saw that, he's a guy with integrity that you can trust when you buy from him. Right. But as far as comics go, what age did you get into comics or discover them, and what kept you around the hobby?
Yeah, so I started reading probably around 8 or 9, and then actually started collecting when I was probably around 10. So actually, this shirt I'm wearing was one of my first loves. Was the Marv Wolfman and George Perez Teen Titans run.
Preach, yes.
Yeah, really I was casually reading, but this kind of got me where I was reading like hardcore. And then probably about 12 when girls came along and kind of stopped reading, stopped collecting, wasn't cool anymore.
Right.
But I had my best friend who we were collecting together and reading together at that young age, and he continued on. He never stopped. So when we were in our 20s, we were still best friends, and he was still reading. And like 2002, some stuff looked really cool again, like the Ultimates and the Batman Hush Run was going on at the time. So I started, he would let me read them. I started reading them again, and probably read a good 2 to 3 years straight. Just everything new coming in, I was buying and reading, and then it just got too expensive for me, and I stopped again. And then I kind of started casually collecting probably 5-6 years ago, mainly just to decorate my office, buy some cool covers, put on the wall. And then after during the pandemic is when I really started kind of getting heavy into it again. And part of that was discovering some YouTubers, watching mystery box unboxings, like DJ Links and Gary was doing unboxing videos at the time.
Sure.
Taylor, Linder. So all those guys kind of brought me. Mystery boxes looked like a lot of fun, and so I started buying a lot of those, and I started getting a lot of doubles. So I thought, you know what,
let's put something together.
Let's see if I can do a mystery box. So then and just part of the mystery box things for me too was just I love going out buying comics, just
right,
treasure hunting, bin hunting, see what I could find, some good deals, just a reason to buy some books.
Right.
So now, did you start the Instagram because of comics, or did you have it before comics and then it gradually turned over to comics?
No, I absolutely started it because of comics.
Sure.
So as I mentioned, I was kind of casually collecting again, mainly DC. I was actually only buying DC for the longest time because that was kind of my favorite as a kid.
We'll try not to hold it against
my stuff off of Facebook. So I was doing a lot of Facebook groups, auctions on there. And actually, the funny thing that kind of brought me to Instagram was there was a post on one of the Facebook groups that says, what is your guys' been experiences with mystery boxes? And so I was just kind of reading through it, and somebody, I think it was Back Issue Comics, which I haven't seen them in a while, but they posted like, hey, here's my mystery box. Here's a couple reviews. And one was a link to DJ Links's opening of one of his boxes.
Uh-huh.
So I watched
master of mystery boxes.
Yeah. So I watched that video and was kind of like hooked at that point. I wanted to see more about the mystery boxes, and so I joined Instagram specifically for this Bat Comics mystery box or his IG page to get his mystery box, and then it kind of just blew up from there. Just followed more people. I was mainly just a follower for a while. Wasn't really posting much, and then just kind of went from there.
Well, and you fell in with some great mystery box people like Eric from Yeah Man I Got Comics, James from
Jimmy Jam's Garage
Sale.
Yeah.
So you got in with a good crowd.
So actually, I have a funny story about.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, man. So I mentioned I was buying mystery boxes, but none of them were really kind of the not as I wasn't getting what I was hoping for.
Right.
Not that they were bad value, just wasn't, things were more newer books and variant covers, which I wasn't really into at the time. So my wife, as a surprise, wanted to buy me a mystery box. And so she did some research, and she found Yeah Man.
Found Eric. Oh my God.
So you can never go wrong with a mystery box from Eric.
Yeah. So she sent Eric an instant message asking if he had any boxes available, and he said he didn't, but he can make one, a special one, or not really special one, but just give me your price range, custom. And I'll make a box for you. Custom, thank you. And so then that's how my relationship started with Eric. The first couple boxes I got from him were actually through my wife.
Nice.
And then when we finally communicated, and he's like, "Oh, you're the one. Is your wife Maria?" I'm like, "Yeah."
So
nice.
As a mystery box guy and getting into them, what was the best hit you ever got out of a mystery box?
That's a good question. It definitely would have to be something from Eric. Yeah, man. I would say, actually, it's one of mine on the wall now. Secret Wars 8.
Oh, nice.
9-4. Yeah, I got
that
box.
That's good. Yeah. I can tell you that, Gary, I don't think I had one bad box from you, Mike, not one. And I remember specifically getting one, and it was I think it was a Brave and the Bold or something. And when I looked at it, I was like, wow. First of all, it was like 12 center, and it was really old. And it was the first appearance of Copperhead. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a key. I got a key in a mystery box, which I don't think I'd ever had to me, that's like a decent key because he's a decent villain. Not like, Lex Luthor or anything, but it was a solid key. I was like, holy crap. But yeah, that definitely be one of the hits I had off of you. And I'm sure I've gotten other ones, and I just, I would hold them up and people would be like, yeah, that's a fire book. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not really what I collect. And, not necessarily from you, but from a lot of different people. But yeah, opening up your box, when you dropped them, I was like, all right, we got to time this shit. I need to put this down on my phone, and I didn't do that for a lot of people. I really didn't. Probably just you and James. And that was about it. When I saw one random one, I might do it occasionally, but.
And that's the tough thing, right? Because once you guys had your name made for you on Instagram, like you, Eric, James, if you're at work and your mystery box drops, whoever's at work isn't getting a mystery box because those things are gone in like
in minutes,
5-6 minutes.
Yeah. It takes but you know what? I don't look at it. How can you say? Yeah, I mean, it is gambling with comics, but I think that was part of the thrill of a mystery box. I put a few together, and it was nerve-wracking, so I don't really like to do it. I don't know how you did it as regularly as you did, but if you develop a good formula and put a good variety, I think that it and their value is there. The value has to be there.
And I definitely had a formula, and I never really made this public. So it was usually always 8 books. And again, mystery boxes are tough because it's like, it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So some people are going to get stuff that they like. Some people are going to get stuff that they don't collect, or maybe they have duplicates.
Right.
But my formula was 8 books. I always had 2 DC books because most people don't like DC, but I figure some might. So I put at least 2 books in each box. And I always try, at first I try to put at least 1 Silver Age book, but that my collection kind of started to thin out.
Yeah.
So then it was either a Silver Age or a Bronze Age, one of those. And then I usually did 1 variant and 1 independent book. So that was kind of my formula. And then everything else was a Marvel book. And I always try to have at least 2 keys. Usually there was going to be more, but I wanted to have at least 2 keys in the box as well.
Sure. That's a good formula. And it's, I think for me, it's getting, it's getting to open up and see what you're going to get. I mean, during the pandemic, I think it was just critical for some people just to keep from going bananas. I mean, to get anything out there that would, just keep their mind off the fact that we were all shut in and we could get this in the mail, and be like, hot dog, I know, this is coming today. I get to open it up and see what, my wife could never understand that, but I mean, I don't think I was at DJ's level. He was opening up one every day. And I mean, I can't do that, but I did like to, buy from specific people and do it. And you were one of them for sure. For sure.
Well, and that was one of the things too, right? I mean, there's such a gamble. If you're buying from the big box ones, like if you buy a box of Heroes, you're buying that specifically to try your 1 in 500 chance to win something big.
Right.
You already know that the books you're going to get are, I don't want to say garbage, but if you went to your local LCS that week, well, you already picked up what you wanted. You don't need a box. But when you're buying from the small guys on Instagram who are packing the boxes with value, like Eric, like James, like Mike, and they're down to earth, you actually develop relationships with them. You know what you're getting as a product. And that's why when these guys would sell boxes, they would sell out within minutes and gone. Right. And hopefully you got one. And those are always my favorite to get, right? You get home, it's waiting on the step. You're like, yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it was critical during the pandemic too, because there were so many people just needing an outlet.
And it started a lot of YouTube channels, mystery boxes, with people starting out. That was their content, opening up a box.
Right. I mean, Taylor was probably opening that Spider-Man booth just about every other day. DJ was the same way. And there was a lot of people out there that was doing it. He's absolutely right. I myself would open up a box and be like, all right, let's see what I got. I mean, it's just good content to have. It doesn't hurt anything. It's pretty solid. And people always want to jump in and see who this person is, and it also is good publicity for the individual that made the box. So,
So now, Mike, as a comic collector, and that one of the questions I really like to ask people I always want to know what their favorite cartoons were growing up. I just love to know. So what was little Mike Fletcher watching on Saturday morning cartoons?
That's easy. I mean, that's part of the reason why I got into comics. Super Friends. That was my jam. I like Super Friends and gosh, I can't think of the name. The Racer X, but Speed Racer.
Speed Racer.
Speed
Wow.
Racer. Yeah, I watched every morning before I went to school.
Now, what's the main character that you've always followed in comics anytime you've collected? Has it always been like, if I'm getting back in, it's this character first, and then I'll branch off into other characters?
Yeah, I would say Batman was definitely that character for a long time. I think now Batman's a little oversaturated. I don't read much Batman anymore. I still get this the main series in my pull list every week, but honestly, I haven't, or every month. I haven't read it in probably a couple years. But Spider-Man was a first love for me. He was actually probably the first character that I read consistently, and it was so when I was a kid, I probably read more Stan Lee, even though Stan Lee comics weren't coming out when I was a kid. But I was reading Marvel Tales. That was kind of the book I read a lot of as a kid. So I was reading a lot of
which was a lot of Stan Lee reprints in those.
Yeah.
Right.
See, when I was growing up, I read a lot of Stan Lee as well. My favorite was always Roy Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But you couldn't go wrong with either one of them. They were both so prolific. You were just getting great stories. And Jim and I have talked about it, and other people on the channel. Like when you sat down with a book back then, you were reading it for 20, 25 minutes, really having a good time with it. In today's books, you're in there for 5 minutes. You're like, oh, it's done.
It's over with. Yeah, absolutely. There's not as many word bubbles or, I mean, there was that whole indie book that came out, Righteous Act for Vengeance. There was hardly anything in it. I just couldn't get, it was all displayed. There was a little talking in it, but not much to read. I was like, this is crazy. I've never, it carried it with the art, but it has to be a special story for sure to do that. Now, with that said, who are some of your favorite artists that you followed in that?
So George Perez was definitely my number one guy. For sure. He was, as a kid, I loved him. Then as I, collected, I was always looking for some, George Perez covers. Yeah. I enjoy Neil Adams a lot. Definitely love his stuff. Modern guys. I don't know how modern he is, but Bill Sienkiewicz, I like his art a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of a chameleon artist too. That guy is so talented. He can do so many different styles, and he pulls each one off.
Right. There was and that's what I was getting ready to say. There was some books he did that I wasn't a big fan of the way he drew, and then I'd go, wow, this is really good. Who is it? And I'd look down, and it was his name, and I'm like, it's nothing like he just did 5 minutes ago in this other book, and it threw me off because when you saw Perez, you knew it was Perez. Yeah. When you saw John Byrne, you knew it was John Byrne. Claremont, Cockrum, Ron Lim. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I mean, every artist starts to develop a certain style, and you can look at it and go, "That's my guy." Mm-hmm. Me personally, I like Bob Layton when he drew Iron Man.
Iron Man. Man, if only that McFarlane guy developed a style, huh?
And McFarlane, exactly. I mean, and it took me a while to get used to McFarlane art, to be honest with you. I also liked Eric Larson. I mean,
Same here. I thought Eric Larson's run on Spider-Man was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And of course, you had the thankless job of coming in after Todd, and Larson came in and just knocked it out of the park.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it was no big deal. Yeah, I got this. Let's go.
Yeah. And John Jr. actually, that when I was reading like current day Spider-Man as a kid, he was the artist at the time. Right. So I really enjoyed his stuff there, but I see some of his current stuff, it's hit or miss. Right.
It's very, some of his stuff is very blocky. I have a few books that I got in mystery boxes, and I look at it and I'm like, what was he doing here? I think I got a Heroic Age Avengers something one time out of James's mystery box, and I looked at it and was like, this is so, I don't want to say bad, but it just doesn't look like, John Romita Jr.'s work. So
very distinctive now, that's for sure. Like it's when I see square heads, I know who it is.
Because I don't like his blocky style. I liked him before that.
Right, I did too. That's why I was saying it's just like it's changed so much in some directions that I don't personally.
And like it's not bad. I just don't connect with it at all.
Yeah. And I'm by no means do I like to. I mean, I would never sit there and trash and say, "Oh, this is terrible," but there are some newer artists that I think phone it in, and I'm just like, wow. And I mean, Gary can tell you. I mean, there was a book, and it was so funny. There was a DC book that him and I were both gonna get.
Batgirls,
because when you look at the cover is amazing, and you open up the interiors, and you're like,
and it was right up our alley. It was strong women.
I couldn't get past the art to go and read the thing, and I just put
same thing I did. Man, I picked that book up, and in 2 seconds it was back on the shelf. I'm like, I can't. The art was so jarring. I couldn't even. I'm like, I won't even be able to get into the story.
Right.
Now let's talk about covers a second, Mike, because it has a lot to do with your business venture.
Yes.
Before we get into that, obviously you're a covers guy. What are your top 5 covers that always speak to you?
Wow, that's a good one. So one of the things that immediately come to my mind, and we talk about John Romita Jr., is the Hobgoblin first appearance cover where he's ripping the suit in half.
Yeah.
With ASM 238, that definitely stands out. The Flash Superman race, the first one, Superman 199, definitely stands out.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
Yeah, that's one I actually own it, but it's a pretty bad condition, but I own it. Let's see what else is there. I mean, sticks out is ASM 252. Obviously, is a homage to Amazing Fantasy, but classic cover. Let me see. The ASM 316 Venom. His his main first cover appearance. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And actually, this is one of my favorites. The one I'm wearing. This
Teen Titans.
Judas Contract. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Teen Titans Judas Contract storyline. My all-time favorite storyline. This is part 1. I love this cover. George Perez. Just one of my favorites. I think that's fine, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for him to say X-Men 130, and now I'm just disappointed. we know Dazzler's big on this channel. He could have kissed butt a little bit on there. No butt kissing at all. Just what he likes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. That's one of the books I have on my wall. So yeah.
No, good answers, Mike. I just wanted to bust on you a second. All right, so you always had always loved comics. Covers were a big thing. So let's get into a little bit. You started slowing down on mystery boxes and decided you want to go in a different direction with clothing.
Yes. So kind of the whole mystery box, just with the market in general, I think we all know it's kind of going down, and it's really hard to find good deals. And part of the mystery boxes is being able to find a kind of a treasure in the wild for a few bucks, and have significant value behind it, maybe 10, 15 bucks, or paid a couple bucks for it. It's harder to do that now. I still enjoy it, or I would enjoy it. Going out there and finding stuff is just harder to do. So my kind of stash started winding down. I had started building up for a mystery box here, and then I wasn't feeling it, so I just would not do it. And then at that point, I had a lot of books, kind of pretty decent books, kind of sitting there. So that's why I decided to do that last round. I did one for a little bit higher than I usually do, which was $75. But I think it's one of my better boxes as far as just the value that was packed in them. But so as I started to wean off of mystery boxes, the T-shirts really weren't necessarily an idea that I was been thinking about for a long time. So my wife, she kind of has her own little clothing business, and she bought a direct to film transfer printer. Is that right? Yeah. And it's really cool. This big industrial printer. It prints these designs, presses them on shirts. And so my first thought is, I'm a tall guy, so it's really hard to find cool t-shirts in my size. So extra large tall is my size. Not super, I see cool t-shirts all the time, but they're not going to fit me. So I'll just make my own t-shirts.
There you go.
Yeah. And I love cover t-shirts have always been, I thought, a cool idea. I've had a couple in the past. You don't see them very often. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own t-shirts. I'll buy some extra large, tall shirts. Have my wife print out a couple designs, and press them for me. She did everything. The only thing I did was come up with the design.
Right.
And I just kind of started thinking that maybe this was something that other people might like. They're collectors, on Instagram, those are the people I'm following are other collectors. Maybe it's something that would appeal to them, have the ability to, get a cool cover on a t-shirt. Got the idea out there. When I first started doing a few of them, my wife was still doing all the work. She was doing all the printing and all the pressing, and I was just the one coming up with the covers. That's kind of how it started. Yeah.
She must love you.
Yeah.
Got her doing everything. She's buying mystery boxes for you. I mean, damn.
Definitely been a big inspiration in this for sure.
Nice.
That's great. So now basically the whole family business at your house is just making clothing for both of you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
It's something you guys can share together as well.
It is. Yeah. I'm actually doing all this stuff now. I finally felt when I said it's a big industrial printer, it is, and it was very intimidating to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't touch it because it's really finicky too. So it messes up once in a while, and you have to know what to do to fix it. And I didn't want anything to do with it, so I let her do all of that. But I've taken it over now, so where I'm doing most of the stuff.
Cool.
But it was actually, and I was thinking about this, like what I'm doing now, I wouldn't like the capital that I would have to put into the equipment I'd have, all the tools that I need to do this, to make these shirts. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for her. Like I was very fortunate for her to have the equipment already in place for something that she's doing. So I've been lucky where I haven't had to put a lot into this.
Not a lot of startup costs.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you started doing those, how'd you get your name out there, and what were some of the first shirts you were doing to promote that? Because I saw one of your first posts, and you were modeling it, and you made a joke about you modeling it.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, I went through a lot of different iterations of when I first got the idea. First, I didn't know how big to make the design. So I think the very first shirts I made the design was too small. It looked like just a rectangle on a shirt. I wasn't very familiar with photo editing software yet either. So just taking a rectangle, we printed out on the printer and pressed it on, and it just looked like a rectangle on a shirt. So then I started messing around with Photoshop, learning how to remove colors and use the color from the shirt. So this is all the black you see on this shirt is actually the shirt and not ink.
Right.
So just learning little things like that. So actually one of the first shirts I did where I feel like I don't want to say I've ever perfected the process because I'm still kind of trying to perfect it, but one of the first shirts I was really pleased with was a Dark Avengers #1, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the color or cover off the top of your head, but it's the one where it's the kind of more like a shadowy cover. You don't really see it's not a lot of detail, but anyway, so I was able to use a lot of the shirt for that design, and I really liked it and started wearing it around the town to the comic book shop. Started getting a lot of
hey, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? Yeah.
So that's kind of the first big one that I feel like I kind of closely perfected it.
Nice.
Now, are you close with any comic shops around you where you could print some shirts off ahead and just have them for sale there? Like,
yeah,
tees and.
We just started working on that with my local shop. They're called Mythical Mountain. They're put my shirts up on display for consignment. We just started doing that last week. Actually, they've been very supportive, and they've been in the area they've been promoting it quite a bit. So it's pretty cool too.
Nice.
Now, do you plan on branching out past covers, like becoming like if people want to contract you to like make their logo T-shirts for their channels or businesses, you do that as well?
Absolutely. I've had a couple people do that already. Yeah, and I'm definitely willing to work with people to do stuff like that. I'm definitely not limited to covers. I just focused on covers because I thought it was kind of a cool niche that, like I said, people in our community might gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But I can do just about anything, any design,
Now,
high quality image.
we're talking about your shirts, but you haven't given the name of your shirt company or where to buy them. So let's do that real quick as we talk about them.
That's what I'm so bad at. Like my promotion marketing is just, it's awful. I'm not a self promoter at all. So
I make these shirts. I sell them somewhere. Sometimes they're available.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you where, you suckers.
So, what is the name of your t-shirt company, Mike Fletcher?
Sure, yeah. So it's Covered Tees, Covered COVERED, Covered Tees. The website is coveredtees.com, all one word.com, and then my Instagram is covered_tees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, CJ's asking a question. I don't know if this actually pertains. If you did any kind of licensing agreement, I'm sure he's just trolling a little bit.
Because I don't have one. So yeah, and this has been mentioned before, and I don't have any license agreement with any of the companies. And the way that I look at it, I'm not trying to get rich off of this. I did this because it was something I wanted. I thought it was cool. I'm hoping other people might, want something similar, and if they do, it's available. Yeah, no licensing agreement. It's kind of my love for comics and wanting to do something where, like, I wouldn't be doing this if it was just making T-shirts with, cats on them. This is because I love comic books and I want to make, T-shirts with comic books.
Right, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is I wore your T-shirt to a mini con last weekend, and as soon as I got well, let me back up. I was invited by a friend to go to this mini con, and I had forgotten all about it, to be honest with you. And he said, "Look, I'll drive. I'll pay your ticket. Just come and hang out. Let's hang out and have fun." Because I hadn't seen him in probably a month or so, and he, we're just going to go hang out. So I wore your shirt. As soon as I got in the truck, he's like, "What the hell? That's awesome. Where'd you get that?" And so then we're talking about it, and I'm saying, "Yeah, it's a good price." He goes, "Do you think he could do one?" I can't remember. It was ASM. Is it ASM 40? Where Spider-Man is under the rubble, and he's put that
No,
like I think it's 40. I'm not really sure, but he loves that cover, so I'm going to be reaching out to get that for him. I have to, but I told him, I said, yeah. And then somebody else complimented me on it at the con. So you're hitting a good niche. I mean,
is that your ASM 194, the Black Cat one?
Yeah, that's the one I wore. And, so I had a few people ask me about it when I was walking around the con. But here's the thing. You go up to a couple of these booths, and all these people have their own iteration of something with a comic. Like one lady was selling bracelets, and they had like different comic book characters on it. 100% sure she doesn't have a licensing agreement with Marvel. But you could also tell that's not her day-to-day. Like she didn't have a big booth. She wasn't selling a whole lot of stuff. This was just her side hustle that, she appreciated the characters. We were talking. She was saying, she'll probably be going out to buy some books at some point. Her friend was supposed to come and stay at the booth and, so she could go book hunting. I mean, that's just the way it is. I feel like Marvel and DC have made so much money off of these covers already and off of the artists that what you're doing is
and I would think
peanuts
anything
compared
that
to them.
sends traffic to them for book sales is a bonus.
Yeah, and that too. I mean,
the product basically.
Yeah. So
have you done like a montage shirt yet, where it's a bunch of covers?
No, I haven't, and I don't know if I'm good enough yet in the photo editing to create something like that. But yeah, that'd be a pretty cool, like almost like a collage of the different covers.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
That would be. Other thing, actually, so I've been thinking of different ideas, and one of the things I'm probably going to start doing maybe in a month or so are this one doesn't have one, but the corner box, just do that on a shirt, not the entire cover, but just the corner box.
Oh, that would be cool because I love the corner boxes.
Yeah.
But so what do you think? What is the most obscure shirt that you've done so far for someone? Do you have something that's like, wow, that's really out there?
Yeah, actually, one that I couldn't do because one of the part of the in order for me to be able to put this, for it to look nice on a shirt, is I need a high quality image. So one of the requests I got was for What If 13. So when I first saw it, What If 13, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's the Conan the Barbarian cover. But it wasn't for volume 1, What If 13, it was volume 2, which was What If Charles Xavier was Juggernaut. Yeah, so I could not find a high quality image of that cover anywhere. So that was probably the most obscure, like not planning. That's one I would never plan to do.
Yeah.
Another one I would probably never plan to do was from Brock Morgan. He posted on his Instagram was Daredevil 258, the first appearance of the band. But that cover, when he sent the order, and I looked up the cover, I'm like, wow, that's a cool cover, and it is. It came nice too.
Oh, it's ASM 33. Thank you, Norman Rad. I know it's one of those early ones, and I know my buddy definitely wants to get one. I just need to find. I don't know what size he is. I need to find out all that, but I'll be texting you that information.
And Brock Morgan had a good little thing here. Some amazing splash pages that would make great shirts too.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work though, as far as like the color content coming out clean. Because sometimes the interiors of those old books, the color didn't pop as much as the cover did. Because it was on that different.
I've thought of, and actually, I have one right here I'm going to show. So I'm not limited to just T-shirts. So one of the things I might start doing are these mouse pads.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is actually a different process again. My wife, she has everything. This is actually sublimation. So it's this just, or this is kind of it's a transfer. So there's a, if it's not T-shirt, you feel the design, right?
Right.
Or this is completely embedded into the mouse pad. So this is something that we're probably going to start maybe in a couple weeks or so as well.
Nice.
Then also, I think one of the things I would like to do with this, and this was my wife's idea as well, so she deserves so much credit, is subscription boxes. And this will probably be down the line if I'm able to get enough momentum and enough traction with the business. But do like a monthly subscription box where every month, like if you sign up for Marvel, you get a different Marvel T-shirt every month or a DC shirt. So something like that. It's kind of like where I would eventually like to go, but just want to make sure that have enough traction before we start doing something like that.
Right, yeah. Then once you start getting bigger, you might get the notice of those big eyes.
Yeah, you have to watch how big you get.
Yeah,
that was the moral of the story. Tiny is okay. If you're in a big booth, then they're gonna definitely start.
Where's my 30%? Yeah,
correct. Absolutely. But it is a good idea. Jib's right. It's a genius idea. But unless you're doing something different, the bigger you get, the closer they look at you. But
So now comics. Now, have you ever thought too about movie posters?
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I really don't have a limit, and at some point I might, increase the product type. But yeah, if there's anybody in the community that has an idea, something that they want on the shirt, just message me, and we can definitely work something out. And even not movie posters, I've thought of like music albums are another thing I think what people might like.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Well, they do that now, sort of. I mean, you go into Target and see, Pink Floyd and all these different, AC/DC, all these different artists.
Now we'll get back to comics again for a minute. You said that you're a Batman collector, and you've been collecting him the last couple of years, but you haven't been reading them.
Right.
And I think part of the issues with comics, with the big guys like Spider-Man, like Batman, Superman, or even Deadpool, is if you want to collect those characters, it's not affordable to collect them anymore because they're in like 17 books a month.
Yeah.
So I think they end up kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But where I was going with it is, if you're a big Batman fan and you're collecting them but not reading them, what are you reading these days?
So actually, I don't know if I've only probably cracked open a handful of books over the last year or so, but I'm reading a lot digitally. So I'm always finding something, either something like a classic storyline or arc that I never read, and I'll go back and read it. Actually, so I'm just right now I'm reading Weapon X.
Oh yeah,
from the early '90s. So I'd never read that. And one of the stories I did read recently was X-23, and that's one of my favorite characters now.
Yeah, I got her first trade. I'm like, all right, let's try her out. I'm like, wow, this character is way better than the original Wolverine.
Yeah,
I was like, I loved her.
Reading that actually probably a few months ago, and I loved it. I read both of that first volume 1 and then volume 2, but that got me more intrigued on the original Weapon X story, since that kind of plays a part of it. So I went back and I started to read that, but I get on these reading kicks where I'm just like constantly digesting stuff. So I started, like, I had this idea. I wanted to get to 2015 Secret Wars, but I didn't want to start there. I wanted to start at when I stopped reading was when, like, the New Avengers had just started, and I remember really liking that run. So I started with New Avengers 1, and then kind of started reading and then getting into the different big crossover events. I was reading all the Civil War crossover stuff and Secret Invasion and House of M. And then I got to, I think, Avengers versus X-Men, and it kind of like became more of homework than it was enjoying reading it.
Yeah.
So then when that happens, it's kind of when I start slowing down. I'm not reading as much. And then I finally get to the point where if I don't read for a day or two, then it's harder for me to pick back up to where I was at. So now I'm kind of I'm reading, like I said, just random storylines. Like I said, I just read Batman Imposter, which for some reason I decided to read. I really enjoyed that a lot. That was pretty good. But yeah, I'm just nothing floppy. Just everything is digital right now. I'm reading.
Nice. So what is your all-time favorite comic book storyline that you could go back and read every year and just absolutely love and be knocked out of the park with?
Judas Contract would definitely be up there. I love
Teen Titans. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one actually is kind of probably maybe a hidden gem for some people, and I've read it several times, is the 52, not the DC 52 reboot, but the 52 where they did every week they came out with a new,
right. It just had the week on the cover.
Right.
It was basically the no Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. They all disappeared after Infinite Crisis. So it was mainly based off of our focus on Booster Gold, The Question, and Black Adam.
Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's one of my favorite, definitely. I've read that or reread it several times.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's good that everybody has a specific thing, and it's always interesting to hear what they are fans of going over and over. And I think it's just also for me, it's when I was reading probably the most, and when I wanted to just, if I not got anything out of it, but it just carried with me. Like it was just a story that just grabbed me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for that next book. And there haven't been a lot of new ones out there that, do that. Me personally, not everybody's like that. Some people can't, would say otherwise.
And I find that although I do collect a lot of modern books, and I'm super excited about Conan over at Titan Comics, but I still find myself going back and reading more Bronze Age every week than anything current, because I just love my Bronze Age books. It was just a sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
You talked earlier about how Stan Lee was your writer back then that you loved to read. Do you have a favorite writer nowadays and a favorite artist that you like to follow?
Not really. I know Brian Michael Bendis a lot. There's a lot of people who kind of I don't know, had their fill of him. But
the Joy Operations was really good from him.
Yeah.
One?
It came out last year. Joy Operations. It was Dark Horse published it.
So I've always enjoyed. I think he's easy to read, if that makes sense. It's just not in like the the words are easy to read, but it's just it's very
It's got a fluidity to it.
Right.
Yeah.
His Spider Woman short series was pretty good too. Jessica Drew.
That was one of the ones where I was reading like basically everything from 2002 to 2010. I feel like in Marvel, I feel like I've read, but yeah.
Oh, and the Alex Maleev art on that was great.
Yeah, it was.
Oh wow. So, do you go to conventions a lot or not really?
No, I go to the big one. I go to the mini cons that we have in the area, but I usually go to MegaCon every year, which is the one in Orlando.
Yeah,
really the only big one I go to.
Because I would be curious if there was a creator there that worked on one of your covers that's on a shirt, and you wore that shirt to the creator, like if you had got like a response from him, like, "Ooh, look at that!"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wore so at the MegaCon I actually wore Green Lantern '85, the classic "Your Ward is a Junkie" cover.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. I got a few comments on that. I got a couple people asking me if I bought it there at the con. So that was
that's when you got to have that card ready, Michael. You got to have that card. Go to Covered Keys.
And you know what? No, he's printing everything else. He can print his own cards.
Yeah. I actually had a sticker on my backpack with a QR code pointing to my Instagram, which I think I got probably a couple followers. I think so. Yeah, I was ready. I was a little ready for that. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I can tell you as a guy who I never thought I'd do this, but because of the other thing that I like to do, which is metal detecting, sometimes it's better just to say, like, if the person's not there and you know they're going to come back, whether it's a house or whatever you're doing, just leave a card. And I left a card at a couple places, and I get callbacks, and like, what is this? Or I'd leave a little note on it and say, hey, can you call me back, please? I want to ask you a question about metal detecting your property. And sometimes I get callbacks, sometimes I don't, but it was worth it in my opinion. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So we got the shirts covered, and guys, his link for the shirts, if you're interested in checking out his site and what he's doing, it's in the description below, as is his Instagram. One of the other things I wanted to touch on, obviously, with your last name Fletcher, it's Fletch Comics, but you have Fletch Lives and Fletch as your Instagram icon.
Yeah.
So, are you a big Chevy Chase fan, and did you love those movies? I'm just curious. I was always wanted to ask you about the Fletch movies.
So, growing up with the last name Fletcher, especially I was in the Air Force for 8 years. So I was during that time. If someone said Mike, I don't even think I turned around. I was Fletch.
From day one, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, so when the first Fletch movie came out, I was probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. Loved it, actually kind of didn't like the kind of the notoriety behind the name, because I was always a shy, introverted kid, and all of a sudden, like, Fletch was like this kind of mainstream name that everybody knew. So everybody was calling me Fletch, and I was getting attention that I really didn't want. But the movie itself I liked, and I was a pretty big Chevy Chase fan during that time period. Absolutely.
I don't know. I saw that image, and I was like, was there a Fletch comic? I was always kind of curious.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there was.
No, but it looked like his image was a Fletch one. So you got cover tees. You're moving forward with that. You got all sorts of different designs you can do. What do you offer for people that are heading over to buy product from you that they may not be able to get from other companies out there? Pitch yourself real quick for everyone that's watching.
Sure, yeah. So first of all, there's if you go to the site, there's probably 50 to 60 different unique cover designs that are available. But one thing we do that if you have a cover that you really want, on a shirt and we don't have it, there's a custom cover option. And what you do there is I have you put in the title of the book, the number, the issue number, and then also the year of publication. That way, if it's like what if there's multiple volumes,
Right.
Put a year in there. It doesn't have to be the exact year, but just kind of give me an idea of the time frame of the book. So you can basically, I say almost any cover. As I mentioned before, there are times where I can't find a high quality image of that cover, and I just can't do it. So I let the person know. So if that does happen, I'll give a full refund, and then let them know that I'm not able to produce the shirt for them.
Nice.
I'd like to. It'd be cool to see some of those old magazines.
Yeah. And I have a lot. Actually, I have a. So one of the things that it took me when I first got the idea to do the covers, I wasn't sure how to get the images. And Gary, we talked about this a little bit. That I'm not going to kind of tell the secret ingredient of that, but I did purchase like 100 pre-code horror covers that were high quality. So I was using those for my first batch. So that's one of the things I like that I haven't added them all to the site yet, but so I will have a lot of horror covers, like pre-code classic horror covers on it.
Dope Comics will be up on that.
That's exactly the first person that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Dope Comics and Bill.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Comic Mag Musings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some people out there that are definitely down for the pre-code horror.
And now, are there going to be any more mystery boxes in Fletch Comics to look forward to, or are those a done deal now?
Definitely won't say it's a done deal. It's not something that's in the immediate future, but never say never. If it's, I actually have. So one of the places that I've been able to find some of those, keys at an affordable price for me, where I can kind of turn them over in a mystery box, is a warehouse sale that my local comic shop does. And they do them, every once in a while, not very often, but they have one coming up in the end of this month. So if I get some pretty cool books out of there, I might see what I can do. But nothing on the
horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
All right,
well,
cool.
I mean,
go ahead, Jim.
He wants to focus on the teas, Gary. I mean, don't pressure him. Come on.
It's the hot seat. You gotta do a little nudging.
A little
Jim.
pressure.
Yeah.
Really.
All right. You're the one with the J-Lo. I don't have one, so I can be a little pushy. So you're the angel on the shoulder, Jim. I'm the devil.
There you go.
So, Mike, we're almost at the hour mark. We're gonna start wrapping this up with some final questions. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do my final question first, and then we'll go to Jim. So my final question is: being a comic addict like you are and a fiend like the rest of us, is there a character that hasn't made it to the big or small screen yet that you want to see adapted, and just what character is that? We all have that obscure character we want to see in live action. What's yours?
Yeah, well, I had a good answer for that probably 3 or 4 months ago, and that would have been Booster Gold, who's always been one of my favorites. But he looks like he's coming to the big screen, so I can't really say that guy anymore. I don't know. That's a good one. I guess I have to stick with Booster Gold because I can't really think of anything at the top of my head.
Well, I thought you might go with the original Blue Beetle if you couldn't have Booster Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the answer for everything.
Yeah. Actually, the Question would be a good character.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna that they haven't really. It's like I don't know how they do that live action wise. I feel like he always has to have somebody with him, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
other character.
He's not an A-lister enough to have his own, right?
No, Man-Thing was actually a character that I didn't think Marvel would ever put on the big screen or on one of their shows because it's so similar to Swamp Thing. I thought that they'd be too fearful that people would call it a ripoff, even though they came out basically the same time. But so I was excited to see Man-Thing come out. He's another one of my favorite characters.
And then that Werewolf by Night. Yeah, that was. I would love to see that again. Was there a show during that whole stretch that you watched more than others? You know, like
I was anything Marvel Universe. I mean, it's kind of basic, but I was consuming anything Marvel Universe as soon as it came out.
Sure.
Yeah. Not as like hype for it anymore, but I still, they produce it. I'm gonna, either going to go to the theater and watch it, or at least binge watch it. I might not watch every episode that comes out, but yeah.
Right. Are you gonna watch? Are you gonna go see Flash?
I am. I wasn't with all the stuff with
Ezra. Elliot, yeah.
And then there's just kind of the history with the DC movies lately. I wasn't too excited about it, but yeah, it's getting a lot of good buzz, and yeah, definitely I'll probably go see it.
Yeah, that's.
The trailers have been great for that.
Yeah, that might actually be a solid one. I have high hopes for it. So
yeah,
I mean, you have people showing up just for Michael Keaton alone.
Yeah. I think they had to do that. I mean, oh my gosh, that's gonna save their bacon. If the story is not good, at least people will get that nostalgia feeling going. Like, thank you, we got the original.
I would love for them somewhere in that movie to fit in a Christopher Reeve Superman reference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nice.
That would be cool. Just honor, to give him a little bit of honor.
Yeah.
And Matt Wood says he'll watch Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll skip Flash.
It's okay. Different strokes.
And Norrad says, "Oh, you mean that Supergirl Batman movie that Flash is in?"
Well, like I said, I think Michael Keaton will help it a lot. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So my question to you is one that I like to throw out, and I don't know if because I don't know what, if there was a book, maybe we'll do it this way. If there was a book that DC or Marvel had made that you could go back in time and change because it didn't end the way you wanted it, or it didn't sell that great, so they dropped it, what would it be?
Well, this is probably going to sound a little creepy, and it's actually related to, again, Judas Contract that's my favorite storyline of all time. But what led up to that was the character Tara or Tara Markovich.
Yeah,
where she was the villain, but you kind of learned to love her. And you were hoping that she would turn on the side of good and join the Titans instead of try to destroy them.
Right.
I really thought that's where they were going as a, an 11-year-old kid. I thought for sure that's what they were going. And I had a crush on it too, which was so weird, That was my comment. Everybody else was crushing on like Starfire and Wonder Girl. I was crushing on the blonde hair with the buck teeth. But yeah, I was disappointed that they killed her off at the time for sure. But as an adult, I see why, and they definitely made the right choice. But even though, like everybody else in comics that dies, they're brought back eventually.
Sure. Then nobody really dies.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the original Starfire come out.
Yeah.
The girl with the sword.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the old 8-issue run. Oh, so that was so good. It was just too bad that DC was going through such terrible times then, because a lot of great books that they started just went nowhere because they couldn't keep producing them.
Yeah.
Not that even they were doing bad, but
yeah. Have you guys?
Go ahead.
It's a book, Slugfest. I don't know if you guys have the Marvel versus DC story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you read it or heard of it?
Marvel versus.
I haven't read it.
Marvel versus DC.
Yeah, it's called Slugfest.
Oh no! Wait, no.
But they actually did a kind of a television version of it. It was done by the Russo brothers on Hulu, and it's like 10 parts, and each part is like 10 to 15 minutes. So it's probably, if you watch the whole thing, you could get it done in like a couple hours. But it basically takes a little bit of each chapter, and I think it was in that they talk about how DC basically they kind of killed themselves by their mantra was, let's produce as many titles as possible, and they produced all these different titles. I'm guessing Starfire might have been during that time, and then as they're trying to get the books to distributors, there's like a huge snowstorm in New York, and they couldn't get the books out, and they had all these books that are just sitting there, and they ended up having to cancel all the titles. I know Black Lightning was one of the books
Wow.
Or they couldn't even get it out before they had to cancel it before they could even get it out.
Wow.
But yeah, I definitely recommend Slugfest. Like I said, you can watch the whole thing in a couple hours, and it's kind of comedy driven. A lot of big stars are like play like the Stan Lee and the different key characters.
Right. I'll check it out.
Nice.
I have Hulu. Do Brother John.
All right, Jim. What's coming up for you, sir?
I have I'm going to be doing some shout out videos of some little channels that I watch that I don't know if other people are watching. I'm probably going to film a little bit of New Comic Book Day down at my LCS, hopefully, if they have anything out there that I want to film. I went by and missed the person at the place I want to metal detect, but I had somebody that is going to contact them. There was somebody there, and they said, look, I'm not going to give you his number, but I will call him and give him your information by the card I left him. And I'm hoping he calls me back. And I have another possible place I might be hitting. So there'll be some metal detecting videos for sure eventually. But that's really it. That's all I got going on. I don't have anything coming in the mail or anything. I'm trying to keep that budget down. I got Heroes Con coming in June. I got to watch my pennies.
All right, Mike, do you have anything coming up for you?
No, just the website, the t-shirts. Speaking of cons, I just for me, I think these are a great option. If you're going to a con, you're looking for something to wear. Your favorite t-shirt on a cover. Like this is, for instance, this is just one of my favorite books for favorite covers. Put it on a t-shirt. Would never find this at a store. So yeah. There's something that you want, you can just either hit me up on IG or the website's out there as well.
Nice. All right, coming up for me tomorrow night, and I don't know, Jim, are you joining on this?
Yes. One? Let me tell you, Gary, tomorrow night I'm going to be on Gary B's channel talking with Jay Douglas.
We're talking with Jason Douglas about his new book, Jane American, his Kickstarter, which Jim and I are both back. Jason Douglas is a fantastic guy, a big friend of the channel. He was actually our first guest that started out the live shows on In the Hot Seat with the Usual Suspects. He's been on the my channel. I think this will be his fourth time.
Mm-hmm.
Real cool guy. You can reach out to him any day. He's not one of those snobby writers. You reach out to him, he gets right back to you.
Yeah.
Super nice dude. Can't wait to promote his book. Can't wait to get the book in my hands because Jim and I will both tell you Parallel was an incredible read by him. So we have the Jason Douglas back for his fourth time tomorrow night, and that'll just be Jim and I doing a promotional show with him and letting people get to know more of who this guy is, what his book is about. It's got ties to American history and his family's history. So It's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, it's part 6, our final installment of the Conan Art Portfolio series. We're doing Savage Saturday comic reviews on my channel. So it'll be Stephanie and I's last show on that. And you guys are going to want to turn in because not only do we have a great art portfolio in Earl Norham, who I think is one of the best ever, but there's going to be some special mystery guests popping up that Stephanie lined up. And Stephanie is cosplaying Red Sonja. And I've got the sneak peek. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. All right. So the costume looks great. Stephanie looks awesome. And if you guys haven't got any of her art critiques yet, they're really good. She's got, obviously, if you've watched anything on my channel, you know she's an artist, a very well-informed opinion. So, we went out and got someone whose opinion actually matters on this stuff, someone that has an education with it and has an eye for art. So tune in for that. And next Tuesday, we have Ignacio on the 1011.
Hard pass.
Wow. I'm making a note right now. I'm telling Ignacio you said it. No, just kidding. No. Mike, if you don't know Ignacio, you see him on Whack Comics and Nick's Kix and Comix channel a lot. Ignacio's just a great dude. Jim knows. He'll tell you. But that's what's coming up. So I want to thank Jim, as always, for co-hosting. Thank you, buddy.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Mike Fletcher for coming on tonight and being our guest. And also thank the chat. We had a great chat going tonight. A lot of people in there. Some great opinions and awesome participation. But thank you, everyone, so much. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep it casual.